Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit BetterHelp.com/positive to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/positive.
Paul Brock, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor with you. Jad Chambers producing. Paul Savage jumping in as we get ready for another Wichita Sports Hall of Fame induction. Maybe the biggest name, most high profile on the list this year, Adrian Griffin, former Wichita East star, college star, NBA star, now NBA coach. Adrian, welcome into the program here on Sports Daily. Glad to have you, and congratulations on the honor for the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame today.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm just so delighted. Just such a great honor to be honored by your hometown. So, man, it's hard to put in words, but thanks for having me on.
You know, it's one of those things where I know you've seen the list in the last 20 years of some of the people inducted. Makes you shake your head, doesn't it? And you think to yourself, wow, do I deserve that? But you do. Of all people I know, you sure do. And, Adrian, I just want to welcome you to Sports Daily here on KFH. And you're the I think the 5th inductee that we've done so far this year. Now, Adrian Griffin, guys, is somebody that's really special. He was All-State 2 times at East. He was a 92 state championship won a championship at East. He was a 3-year starter at Seton Hall and was all Big East. After a 9-year playing career in the NBA, which included the Celtics, the Mavericks, the Rockets, the Bulls, and the Seattle Seahawks. He went on to a coaching career in the NBA, coaching the Bucks, the Bulls, and the Magic. That's pretty good stuff. And of course, I've always thought to myself, man, you were something special. By the way, this is my second Hall of Fame that I've actually had the honor of voting for you to be inducted. I was on the board of directors with the Wichita East Hall of Fame as well. So you're my second vote this time. So it's really fun to do. But I guess I've just got to start this interview out, Jacob, if you don't mind. I usually don't want to insult our inductees, but you went to Seton Hall in New Jersey. New Jersey.
Correct.
What were you thinking?
Oh, wow, man. At the time, I was getting recruited by a lot of mid-majors, but I've always had that dream of wanting to play major D1 basketball. And at the time, KU just was not recruiting me. Obviously, that was my number 1 pick from Wichita, Kansas. I would have loved to play at KU at the time. But Seton Hall came in the picture at the last minute, and P.J. Carlissimo was the head coach at the time. And he came and watched one of my state championship games. I think it was a semifinal game, and I scored like 33 points. And after that, he offered me a scholarship. So I ended up playing in the Big East. So it was a dream come true. I kind of grew up. It was funny because we got some of the Big East games growing up in Kansas just on television at times. Here and there, and I was always infatuated with the Big East, Syracuse and Georgetown at the time, and Seton Hall. I remember when they lost to Duke in the NCAA tournaments, and I always kind of favored the underdog. So, yeah, I went out to it was probably not by choice, but because no other teams were really recruiting me at the time.
Well, we'll let that one slide, but New Jersey, for God's sakes, I don't get it. Jacob, take the next one. I think I'm feeling better about his answer now.
Adrian, right now in your long career that Paul laid out nicely there, it's the NBA. And there are reports out now that, the Raptors need a head coach, and you may be a candidate for that. How badly do you want to be an NBA head coach? And, what does that look like for you at the moment?
Well, it's something that I've worked hard to position myself to be a head coach in the NBA. I think a lot of it is just you want to share your experiences and broaden your influence. I've kind of done things the hard way as far as nothing was handed easy to me. And just growing up in Wichita, Kansas, my mom and dad instilled a lot of great values in me. I really had to work really hard, and you just kind of want to transfer some of those lessons along to this new generation. A lot of people ask me about, what's the difference between this generation and the generation I grew up in, and it's not much other than, they are fun to coach. They really care about their development. And I think as coaches, we just have to adjust and adapt a little bit. You want to keep those same values. It's just the way you deliver them. I think the relationship part is very important. But it's something that I've worked hard, as a player. I played 9 years. I've coached under some great leaders, some great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches. And you just want to take what you've learned and transfer it over to this new generation. I feel like I've paid my dues, and I'm just ready for the next opportunity.
Well, you have played for and you have coached with literally some of the greatest coaches in the NBA, some of the greatest coaches in college basketball history. Is there anybody that you have kind of taken what they do and made it your own and massaged that? That happens to all of us. I've coached 30 years. I've done the same thing. My mentor was Mo Lattimore at Kansas State. 99% of what I teach in techniques I got from Mo Lattimore. Do you have a guy just like that?
Man, it's extremely hard to pinpoint one coach. All coaches that I've had just had a tremendous impact on me, and you kind of take bits and pieces from all those coaches, and you learn what not to do as well at times. You try to be. I always talk to young coaches about just being engaged in your own development. Just don't leave it up to chance. There's times when in huddles, like if Nick Nurse is drawing up a play, I'll be in the back and I'll draw up that same play, and I listen to his terminology and kind of pay attention to when he uses it and why he called a timeout here. So I try to take responsibility for my own development. That's very important for a lot of young coaches. I think a lot of them kind of just, go through the season, but you got to really be engaged because unlike professional sports where I was extremely limited to my physical abilities, but coaching is really, it's up to you how hard you want to work, how much you want to put into it. You're really not limited by anything except your own imagination and hard work. But, I remember working for and playing for Jeff Van Gundy. He was very detail-oriented. He always talked about the spacing and how important, if you didn't fake a pass to make a pass with your post feeds, you had to do it again. It was sort of like perfect offense. Or he would say, hey, you're supposed to be 6 inches to the left and you're 6 inches to the right. And then I had Tom Thibodeau. I coached with Tom Thibodeau 5 years and Scott Skiles 5 years. They were very hard-nosed coaches, they're very defensive-minded coaches. So, Billy Donovan, I just kind of loved the way he never, he was always under control. He never lost his temper with the players. And I always used to marvel how he can communicate. So, I will always work on my communication skills after watching him just interact with the players. So, all the coaches that I've had, I was extremely just fortunate. I remember playing for Don Nelson. He would always say, make the defense adjust to you or make the other team adjust to us. there were times that we would throw Dirk Nowitzki on the floor with like 4 guards, and sometimes we'd go, we go big with Sean Bradley and Dirk Nowitzki and Ray Filafran sometimes. So it was just fun how he just had a great that. Now we didn't work on defense, but our offense was tremendous. But you take the pieces from all the coaches. So I'm extremely fortunate for even going back to college. Had PJ Carlesimo, who I have a greater appreciation for now that I'm in the NBA, because back in college he was preparing us for the NBA style of play, and by the time I got to the NBA, I look back and said, whoa, PJ, he was preparing us for that. A lot of the fundamentals of the game. I was able to hit the ground running because I was taught that way back in college. So coaching was a lot harder than I ever imagined. When I retired, I went right into coaching. So I really, had a eye-opening experience. The first day that I got into coaching, just all the hard work and the long hours. So it just made me appreciate all the coaches that I've had in the past. And going even back to high school, with Ed Southern and Don Cameron at East, those guys were tremendous as far as positioning me to play college basketball. So, I just have a great appreciation for coaching in general.
Adrian Griffin joining us here on Sports Daily, the newest inductee into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame, former Wichita East star, Seton Hall star, NBA star, now NBA coach. Adrian, it's an interesting connection because you've got Fred VanVleet there, the former Shocker. I think probably a lot of similarities for you guys in the way that you've come up, and he's become a star in this league. What has that connection been like, and do you guys have any bond over Wichita, or what's the relationship like with Fred, one of the all-time great Shockers?
Oh, for sure. Fred is, he's one of my all-time favorites. Just the way he competes. And then obviously we have the Wichita connection, and we talk about that all the time. And I just tease him, and I said, man, I'm from Wichita, but I think you're more loved in Wichita than I am. We kind of joke about it, and but I just love his toughness. A guy his size, they have to scrap and claw for every inch, and there's just players that play above and beyond their size and their physical sometimes limitations, and he just has a heart of a lion. He's a competitor, and I can recall back in the finals, and if he doesn't bang those threes in the fourth quarter, then we don't win the championship. And, his self-confidence is something that I always admired. We kind of cut from the same cloth, except he has an offensive game. I was more of a defensive player. It just, you fight and you claw for everything, and nobody's going to give you anything. I just love hearing him tell the story about draft night, just going undrafted, and he had his family and friends, and they were ready to celebrate, and it didn't happen for him. But it just made him more determined. And you talk about a guy that just overcame the odds, him going in the G League and winning in the G League, and then becoming one of the face of the Raptors, and I just have tremendous respect for him. And he's a solid family man, has a beautiful family. He just does all the things the right way. So tremendous respect for Fred VanVleet. Just an honor to know him and be able to coach him.
It's interesting. You brought up a championship here in Wichita for Fred VanVleet, several Valley championships and championships. You have a state championship at Wichita East. You have an NBA championship. We talk about championships all the time, very loosely and lightly with regards to, this is a championship team and this guy won a champion. Something, I guess what I want to ask you is, championships don't come around every day, do they? People don't realize at the level of which you are at, how hard championships are. They don't even come around at the high school level that often. And to win a championship is really something special, and it bonds a man with coaches and players the rest of their lives. Talk a little about what championships mean to a guy like you.
Well, it's funny. I'll start with my NBA championship. It was 20 years to the date, that I was in the NBA that I won a championship. I entered the league in 1999, and we won in 2019, exactly 20 years. So it was surreal. But 20 years, I went to the finals as a player in 2006, and we were up 2-0 to Miami and ended up losing 4 in a row. And that was so heartbreaking. I think I needed therapy for like 10 years after that, just to get so close, and then, but you're so far away. It's extremely hard to win championships. And that's why, sometimes people take the Golden States and the San Antonios, for granted. If you look at the last 35 years about how many teams have actually won a championship, you'd be shocked and amazed. There's only a handful of teams outside of the Lakers, San Antonio, Chicago. Just go back. I think the Dallas Mavericks, Boston had one in the last 35 years, but it's not a lot of teams, So it's extremely hard. I always say the stars have to align. A lot of things have to go your way. You have to be healthy, number one. Your team has to come together and peak at the right time. And it's about matchups, you have to believe. And, when we made our run in 2019, we were down 2-0 against Milwaukee Bucks. They had Giannis. He was phenomenal. And we just, we made some adjustments. We were, game 7, Philly in the second round. Kawhi hits a tremendous shot. And then, we had a little bit of luck with Golden State, obviously. If Kevin Durant plays, that's probably a much tougher series. But again, it's a lot of things. The stars have to align. A lot of things have to go your well. Guys have to be healthy and playing at the peak at the right time. So just to be a part of that Toronto team, when you're in out of the country and you're playing for Toronto, you're really representing the country. And we had probably 4 or 5 million people at that parade. It was unbelievable. It's just hard to put in words. It was just a sea of red, a sea of people in the streets. It took us hours to get downtown to present, the trophy to the fans. But it was unbelievable. But I think my greatest memory of just winning that state championship back in high school is when my father and my mother were in the stands, and I held that trophy up and I kind of presented it to them. Just kind of a way of honoring, my father, who isn't here. He passed away in 2000. So it's kind of my fondest memory of just seeing him smile and the pride that he had on that day. I wanted to do it for him because he was the one that, taught, he was a pastor for 25 years, and he was he was also in the military. So he was tough, he was very disciplined. He was always kind of on me and my brother to do the right thing and work hard. And he never made excuses. He was a great example. I remember there was times where we would get out and mow lawns together, and because he was teaching us how to work and not make an excuse. When we were kids, he would take us out and teach us how to pick up cans. Remember back then you could pick up cans and trade them in for 5 cents or whatnot. But he taught us that a man doesn't make an excuse. He takes care of his family, and you work extremely hard as you can, and you provide. So he taught us some great lessons, and so winning that state championship and seeing him up in the stands is one of the best memories that I continue to take with me.
That's fantastic stuff. And what we love so much about high school sports. Adrian Griffin, I've got a couple more for you, Adrian, real quick, and then Paul will get you inducted. It's been a while now, and there was at the time when Wichita State, not this most recent time, but what was it, 3, 4, 5 years ago, was looking for a head coach. Your name kept getting mentioned to us as somebody of interest there. Was there any interest for you to come to college as you've made your way almost exclusively here through the NBA. Was that real interest or was that just chatter?
Well, no, listen, I've invested so much time in the NBA, in professional sports. I know the game. I know the rules. I know the players. I invested 20. Now this is going into my 24th year. So I've always said, it would take a lot for me to, give up everything that I've sold into the NBA and pursue the college. Seton Hall would definitely, if they came knocking at the door, I would definitely consider them, as my alma mater. And then Wichita would be a close second because of just the respect I have for the city and the people there. My family is there. It would take a lot for me to leave the pros, but, I have a lot of fond memories of, just being there in Wichita. We won the state championship on Wichita State's floor. So, yeah, there was some genuine interest, but, again, it would take a lot because I feel like my number one goal is to become a NBA head coach. But I have a tremendous respect for the city of Wichita. So if I were to go to college, it would be, Seton Hall and Wichita would be up there.
We appreciate that candidness, Adrian, and again, really good luck. We're all pulling for you with that Raptors gig open right now. I'm going to let you in on a much lighter one, though. I was in Canada to cover the Royals, so I don't know a lot about Canada, but when I was there, two things stood out to me, and I want to know which you are more on board with, poutine or ketchup-flavored potato chips. I thought ketchup-flavored potato chips were awesome. Not a big fan of poutine. What do you think?
To be honest, I haven't tried one of those. I just, for some reason, I don't know. I'm still like a Midwest kid at heart, and I know it's tradition in Canada, but I'm still like, give me some. My mom was great. She made some. She used to fry chicken and spaghetti, homemade spaghetti, and my dad after every Sunday after church, he would get up and preach, and we'd go home and have a big family dinner, and so I'm still kind of Midwest kid at heart. I haven't taken to the poutine, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's something. It's
that is so funny. I'm about to ask what it is. I've heard of it, but I do not know what it is to this very day.
Yeah, it's like
gravy on
gravy.
Fries and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
well, that sounds good.
Still American at heart.
All right.
French fries.
There's cheese curds in there too, Savage. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, it probably will not appear at H2O at any time in the near future, is it?
Right.
Anyway, well, listen, I think that's a great note to end this interview on and get on with the formal induction. Is that okay with you, Jake, if we go ahead and get that induction done right now?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That's what I say. Well, this is a real special moment. And, Adrian, I'm so proud that you're able to go into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. You go in with a lot of wonderful, wonderful coaches and athletes. And it's amazing the group of people that you are now joining. Wichita has a tremendous history of sports and those who coached and those who played in the city of Wichita. And we're going to include you in that list as of now. And as of this moment, Adrian Griffin, you are officially nominated and elected into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. And you have the same rights and privileges that all of our members have. And congratulations, Adrian Griffin. You are now the latest Wichita Sports Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's just such a tremendous honor. I feel like when I left Wichita, it's just been so hard to get back there, just with, professional sports. You're just always on the road. But Wichita is always in my heart. It's always home. My family still lives there. My mom still lives there. Nothing will ever replace, the city of Wichita. just so many. I credit them. I never felt like I was at a disadvantage when I left home at the age of 18. I always felt I was well prepared for life because all the wonderful people, I want to thank my mom and my dad, my brothers and sisters. I've had tremendous support through the city. My teacher from Wichita East, Miss Givens, she actually filled in my wedding. My mom couldn't make the my wedding with my wife Kathy, and Miss Givens filled in, and so that speaks volumes how close I am with her and how much respect I've had for her and the people that have helped me along the way. So I definitely want to thank my wife Kathy, who's been with me the last 7 years. She's such a solid rock for me, and just you don't get here on your own. There's just so many people that I can't even thank. It would just take up too much time. But I do want to thank one person in particular, my CBA coach when I was in the minor leagues, Tyler Jones. He really had such a great impact on my coaching philosophy because when you go undrafted, you just feel lost. You feel like you're not valued, and it was a very tremendous time in my life. But he used to, an hour before practice and an hour after practice, he would work me out, and he would always tell me that I would make it. And so I try to transfer that over to the players that I work in. When you believe in someone, it's very powerful. And I just want to encourage everyone we always teach people or try to lecture people and believe in yourself, but sometimes you need somebody to believe in you before you believe in yourself. So take some time today, invest in someone else's dream. I had so many people invest in my dream that tell me that I believe in you, and I try to pay it forward and let the players and the people that I mentor, just let them know that I believe in you. And that approach can change somebody's life. So I'm eternally grateful for all the people that supported me and voted for me. You have no idea what this means to me.
Well, we appreciate it, Adrian. Congratulations again. Good luck. We're all pulling for you to be a head coach very soon, hopefully. You've certainly deserved it. And let's talk again soon when that happens, okay?
Will do. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you guys. Thanks again.
Adrian Griffin, Wichita Sports Hall of Fame, Wichita legend. So nice to hear Adrian talk so much about his time here fondly. A lot to get through. If you joined us in the middle, go back and listen to the whole thing. This guy, you're going to be an NBA head coach and continue to make Wichita proud. It's going to happen soon. Yeah. All right, 869-1240. Let's take a quick break. We'll digest some of that. I think there's some really interesting stuff in there as well. Adrian Griffin, Wichita Sports Hall of Fame. This is Sports Daily. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily. A lot of great stuff there with Adrian Griffin. It's been a while since we've caught up with him. Just so much good information, fond memories, insight into his life and career, which hopefully very soon takes the next step as an NBA head coach. He is the odds-on favorite to land that Toronto job. He's deserved an NBA head coaching job for a long time. Yep. And you can hear some of the reasons why NBA teams like him so much. You can go back on the Odyssey app and listen to that. I thought one thing that was interesting, and I've wondered this for a long time. When Isaac Brown was hired, Adrian Griffin's name was thrown around a lot. Now, we were told a lot of interest there. So I definitely wanted to ask him about that. And it sounded to me like, fellas, that there was. And there were two spots. There are two spots. I mean, Adrian Griffin just told us this. Seton Hall is alma mater, or Wichita State to come back home. So, that's an interesting path to consider. Had that season not gone so magically, what might have been and whatever. But in the end, Adrian Griffin if he becomes a college head coach, that's great. I think the things that he talked about there means he could have a big impact on young people's lives. But we got to get this guy on an NBA bench in that head spot. It's got to happen. It's needed to happen for a long time. I think it will, and that's it's going to be a really cool moment when it does happen for him.
Well, I think
it's definitely interesting, just with the fact that, that he has spent basically his entire coaching career in the NBA. There's a little bit of a, it's a different world when you're going and coaching in college with recruiting and, all of that. And especially now with NIL, transfer portal, all of that. So I understand that he'd want to be picky and selective, if he would ever go to the college game. But it makes a lot of sense for him to be the head coach of the Raptors. And if it's not the Raptors, he needs to be the head coach somewhere in the NBA.
Right. And I'll tell you, he's a class act. I'm sitting here just 10 seconds ago. I got a text from Adrian. He says, "That was awesome. Thank you so much." So, that's a class deal. He is 100% class. To come back to Wichita State, if the timing is correct, would be really something special. But it's always nice to see somebody who loves Wichita like that. I wish we'd have had more time. I wish we could have gone another segment because I wanted to ask him about the NBA and what's going on right now in the playoffs. It's been fascinating. And by the way, Tommy, how do you like getting spanked a little bit by Jacob? When you made the claim, no, it's over. The Warriors, it's all over. Put a fork in them. They're done.
He said they were going to win.
The Warriors would win Game 5. I said they would win a game with the Warriors with their backs against the wall. I think the Lakers win the series, but I thought the Warriors would win Game 5.
Well, but Jacob's on the other hand, and I got to go with Jacob on this one. When you're right, Jacob. I think the Warriors may end up making that run. Something making Tommy look bad. It's hard on the kids. You got to be careful. You got to stop doing that so much.
I had forgotten about this until I was reminded, and it jarred my memory today, that when the Cavs came back and beat the Warriors, the Cavs were down 3-1, and it's probably been pointed out more than this. It was me late to this storyline. Steph Curry's got a chance to flip that over on LeBron, right? Like that storyline exists in this series.
Ain't happening.
Pretty interestingly. But I thought the Warriors – we all thought the Warriors would win last night. I still think the Lakers are pretty heavy favorites in the series, but it is the Warriors. I love that series so much. God, I hope it goes to 7 games.
Hey, and by the way, all bets are off when Anthony Davis is getting wheeled out of the arena in a wheelchair.
Yeah. That was strange.
I'm not sure I saw what I saw because I wasn't sure that it was as – well, I shouldn't say – funny things happen with the human body. And I shouldn't make a judgment, but guys, I'm not sure I saw what I saw. I'm not sure I saw what was, bad. But anyway, with that being said, that was strange. That was weird. And no Anthony Davis. Does that make you want to rethink a little bit, Tommy? Maybe just a little bit.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You sure?
I think the Lakers have the edge here still. Warriors might get Game 6. I don't know, but I still think the Lakers win the series.
Okay.
Anthony Davis, and I wouldn't even hold that against you in your prediction, Tommy, because I do think that changes things quite a bit. But that's a part of it when it's like the Warriors aren't dead. The biggest part for me is they're still the Warriors. They still have the Splash Brothers. They still have Wiggins. They still have Poole, who should be a talented player. They still have Draymond Green. Like so many of those pieces, they're older, are still there, though. From last year's championship team, by the way. But the other part is, like, Anthony Davis, LeBron, like, the Lakers are old, too. Like, what happens if something changes? And boy, if there's no Anthony Davis, does LeBron still have that game in him? Like, where he can absolutely just take it by himself. Not that he has to take it by himself, but he's going to kind of have to if it's going to be like no Anthony Davis, shoulder the load, get it on your shoulders and all that. Let's go to the phone lines real quick before we take a break here. Brady wants to talk about the Adrian Griffin interview. Brady, what's up?
Hey, I really appreciate and enjoyed your interview with Adrian Griffin. Now, I wanted to add to your last comment about the Warriors. Don't forget also Steve Kerr as well. And, at this point in his career, he's pretty crafty. He taught Mike Brown, the Sacramento Kings head coach, a few things. And notice that Mike was not really successful as a head coach until he was an assistant under Steve Kerr and the Warriors staff. But I wanted to talk about Adrian, and I really appreciate and enjoyed that interview. One of the things that I don't know if he mentioned, because I caught the tail end of it, is when Adrian Griffin first got his NBA opportunity as a player, he went to the Celtics, and he wasn't right out of college. He was in his mid-20s, maybe late 20s, and at the time, Tom Thibodeau, the head Knicks coach, was an assistant at that time. Tibbs is known in the NBA as being very detailed on defense, and Adrian was a tremendous defensive player, and he developed a rapport with Coach Thibodeau and the Celtics management, and I think Adrian may have even coached under Coach Thibodeau, who changed the direction of the Knicks. And I think it's Adrian's time now, you guys. Everybody goes through, is it their time? While J.J. Redick, as an example, may be an outstanding coach someday, J.J.'s never coached a day in his life, and while that might not be, a prerequisite to be a head coach anymore, I just think the reputation in the league, I think players would listen to Adrian. I think he's better suited for the NBA game. And I think it's his time, you guys, at this point. He's paid his dues. He's not looking for a shortcut. I look at him a lot like Tyrone, Lue, when he first came into the league. I'll never forget when he was an assistant, Ty was at Cleveland, and they talked about whether he was ready to be a head coach or not. And they just asked LeBron James his feeling on it. I look at Adrian much the same way. There's no need to do a nationwide search there, searching can. They've got their guy right there. It's time, you guys, to give him an opportunity.
Yep.
And playing at Seton Hall in the Big East and his preparation and in Wichita and his upbringing in the Midwest will make him an excellent coach. And following Nick Nurse also is not a bad thing at all. I mean, Nick's going to have another opportunity in this league at some point. And it's going to be interesting to see where the Raptors go. But I really, really like Adrian Griffin. So great interview, guys. Appreciate the show.
Thanks, Brady. And yeah, go back and listen on the Odyssey app to the beginning, because he did talk about when Paul asked him about some of the coaches that have had an influence, and like the pedigree alone of who he's coached with and under, and for as long as he's been doing it and the success that they've had. Yeah, it's beyond time for Adrian Griffin to get that chance, because what was so cool about him going back through the coaches, Tommy, was hearing like from Don Nelson to Tom Thibodeau, like
Jeff
the most
Van Gundy.
polar opposite, like offense, defense. Like he's got such a broad range of, coaching experience that there's all like, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's a no-brainer. This guy's played or coached for everyone.
Yeah. There's going to be an NBA team, you would think, and if it's not the Raptors, it should be somebody else. Taking a chance on Adrian Griffin as a first-time head coach, and you never know until you try, right? He's never been a head coach before, but he's paid his dues. He's been an assistant for a long time, studied under some of the greatest minds in the game.
I mean, they're taking chances.
Give him a run at it.
Steve
Let's
Nash,
see how it goes.
Steve Nash, Jason Kidd. Like, give me a break. Like, let's get a coach in there. And by the way, Paul, that relationship with Fred VanVleet when you're the front runner for the Raptors job is probably a pretty important resume line, too.
I think it could be. Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break. Let's give away some Fast X tickets. Sneak peek 1 week from today at Boulevard Town West Theaters. If you want to check out Fast X before everybody else, call the IHOP hotline 869-1240. Jad will get us some winners, and we'll be right back. All right, Diane, congratulations. Headed to Fast X, courtesy of Sports Daily. Welcome back in. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor, Paul Savage with you here. A lot of time spent with Adrian Griffin in the hour, so we've got just a couple of minutes. Paul, I wanted to get your take on this, and then Tommy can react to what your opinion on this is. Hunter Dickinson, there are rumors that it was like a 2-year NIL deal, upwards potentially of like $2 million a year. Now, none of that's confirmed or anything like that. That's just sort of the the chatter around it. Does that surprise you, Paul? You're always interested in this kind of stuff. Does it surprise you that it can get that big?
It surprised me in the world of NIL. The one surprise that I've had, and Tommy, you might appreciate this, and that is the Manning kid, Arch Manning, the nephew of
some of the biggest NFL quarterback stars in the history of football, who said, I'm not going to take a dime of NIL money until I'm the starter at the University of Texas. Now, that surprised me. A kid not taking NIL because he wants to perform for and earn his money. Very surprising, very commendable. But, no, nothing would surprise me with regards to this particular situation. So I don't know what to think of it because there's got to be something we don't know. I don't know what it is we don't know, but there's something we don't know.
Tommy, Arch Manning, probably. It's easier to turn that down when you don't need it as much as some might.
Well,
I mean, right? Like, that's –
Yeah.
I commend him for it, too. I think it's cool. But, like, I'm not going to hold it against somebody else that they're not willing to do that because not everybody's uncles and grandpa were NFL Hall of Famers, right? Like,
Right.
Well,
I've got zero issue with the Hunter Dickinson news. I think that it's a little shocking to the system that he's public about it, saying, look, anybody would leave their job for a $10,000 a year increase. And so why are you hating on me for doing the same thing? I'm not upset with him. I don't think that that's the wrong case at all. I just think that it's a shock to the system and to the way that, everything has always historically gone in college athletics. It's a little bit shocking to hear an athlete like openly say, yes, I went and did this because of the amount of money that I received. But we all knew that was happening. We all knew that Hunter Dickinson more than likely was going to go to the highest bidder. And,
we don't know that they were the highest bidder, right? Like,
but
we
look,
don't know that.
I think they can play in tandem, though, right? They can play in tandem. It can be making a boatload of money and also the best opportunity to win a national championship. Like, those two things work together, and the overall package, not just the financial aspect of it, but playing for Bill's self and all those other things we've talked about. Sure, it all goes into it, but I don't blame Hunter Dickinson whatsoever for trying to, get as much money as possible.
Well, get used to it. Get used to it because that's going to be the rule rather than the exception. And
because that's what the market says it should be.
That's
and
right.
That's totally fine.
And the opportunity, the window that is open to make this kind of money is limited. In fact, it's really
It is for a
limited.
pro athlete.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm
Unless
not
they
sure.
get to the pros. That's right.
I'm also not sure that Hunter Dickinson is a long-term pro in the NBA. He might be. You never know.
Totally.
And he could be developed in that way. So why not cash in now when you know it's actually on the table in front of you?
You're going to see more of that. You're going to see more guys that are fringe NBA players have a better earning potential in college than they do to take that shot or to go play internationally right out of the gates. And that's what I love about it, by the way. And here's the other part of it. And this, I'm going to bring this on a turn into a full swing sort of situation. Kansas pays that much to basketball players. Michigan doesn't. Why? Because Michigan has an emphasis on football, right? So Kansas can because they emphasize basketball. Wichita State can. I think the Shockers are a sleeping giant in all this when you don't have to divert that money to football. I say it all the time.
Yep.
You got to pony up.
869-1240, the number. Jad, let's do another pair of Fast X tickets just because. 869-1240, IHOP hotline. First caller gets more Fast X tickets for a week from today. We'll be right back.